She isn't on like
Yeah. We lost it.
She said January. I had 2 hours.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're funny. They're like motion detectors.
I guess they had a
Chairs in the backyard, they all.
They did.
They
They did, yeah. I was sitting over there, it was
You were watching.
2 hours.
Yeah, stay over here, wait for it. Just watch what you say. We'll share. We're saving paper.
Yeah, I got sick.
Well, no, I'm walking around.
More walking around.
Are you leaving?
No, I'm just trying to get checked off.
You want to sit here? You can skip all the way back.
Come on in, Ernie.
Down a little more. That was a good spot.
Family circle. Do we need any more, Sheriff? We're good to go.
Not so fast.
Hi. Nice Bob.
Too late, or something.
I don't fit in it anymore. I still have it, which lost.
It's your wish shirt.
My, what's it called? Village jacket.
They wear it like iron.
Okay.
You ready? Yeah. Let's all stand up now. We're all crazy in here. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Chairman Miller. Here. Vice Chair Kerwood. Here. Supervisor Sachs.
Here.
Tom Manning. Here. Myself. Damon Brewster.
Here.
And Carol Short.
Here.
First on the agenda, I need a motion to approve the minutes of November 28, 2017.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And motion to approve the minutes of December 5th, 2017.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 I have no correspondence. I have no administrative actions. So I guess we open the floor for public comment and anything on the agenda.
Well,
Okay.
I assume on the agenda item is approving the budget, so my question has to do with the expenditure on the police, which has risen from 26% to about 32%.
Actually 28.
28%?
28.
Okay, 28%. My question is, and I don't see the chief here today, so maybe no one can answer my question, but what is the longer term prognosis for spending on the police over the next 3 to 5 years, and how will we pay for it? And what are the trends?
Yeah, well, actually, the trend was to get us to this point, so we can do the traffic studies and so forth, and start some of that enforcement. there is a little bit of excess in the budget now for another part-timer to go to full-time. We haven't decided that yet. I don't think to my knowledge, there's no expected further growth other than the normal raises and so forth. But I don't
Equipment
know.
purchases, I mean, there is a police car in there for next year.
Yeah, that's in there.
Probably be looking at buying another either sedan or SUV type vehicle in 3 years.
Yeah.
Normal lifespan on a police vehicle is about 3 years. So, you know, in order to maintain their fleet, and keep it, he does a very good job in keeping what he has and maintaining and trying to maintain it. But probably be looking at another vehicle in about 3 years.
Yeah, that's normal stuff, but from a standpoint of growth, I don't think we have any further growth expected this time.
Okay, and then, so that is coverage from 8 AM to 11 PM. That's what's currently projected, or is it 8 AM to 8 PM? What is the
I think
coverage?
he's looking to go to 11. If we do hire another full-time officer, that will allow him to have more flexibility in scheduling, and probably would be increased hours, probably increased hours on the weekends as well, longer coverage.
At
going
this
into the
point,
night.
with the part-timers, I don't think we're available from 8 to 11, are we? I thought
I
it was
think they're
short.
here till 8.
Yeah,
till
it's
5
like
or
8 to 8. And is that 7 days, Kevin, or just 6?
That's just 6 days.
Yeah, okay. And that's what you get out of, unfortunately, the problem is you got 3 full-timers, 2 part-timers, but they all got time off, they all got vacations, they all got personal time, they got sick days, they got, and then in addition, you have time in the courts and all this other kind of stuff, so the actual time on the street gets whittled down, that's why you need so much manpower.
Well, I would comment on that. Over the past years, with the situation with police officers in the country being shot down randomly, you know, having one officer in a car after dark has become a real
That's true.
issue. They want 2, and you know, the state police have always been that way. After a certain time, it's 2 in a vehicle. And those kinds of things have to be taken into account as well with even our local police, for their own safety and protection. Because you know how it is, you don't have to talk about it. You know, to pull somebody over for a routine traffic stop, and potentially an incident there. So to have one guy on in one car, it almost makes for a dangerous situation. So
That
what
is
do you
true.
do?
We
You have
have
another
to
guy in
account for
another
that.
car, you put 2 in a car, it really burdens the township and stresses the finances of how do you schedule these things. And, you know, we leave that up to the chief of police. I really don't have much input at all, other than, you know, over the years, we've talked about
Right.
our coverage and what can we do to get better coverage, and when are they on, can we see the reports, and when are they on? Because there's oftentimes we don't really know either.
Yeah, and we have an opioid crisis, which, you know,
Oh.
is a dangerous situation.
I'll say this, because I heard it firsthand from one of our firemen, volunteer firemen. The opioid crisis, okay, is so taxing on the system that when our ambulance is out on a call, whatever call that might be, and a cardiac arrest call comes in, our firefighters are taking those calls. They have this township divided up. One of the fellows is in the townhomes. He responds to a cardiac arrest. What do you think it is? It's an overdose. It's a heroin overdose. And with the fentanyl, and all you have to do is come in contact with fentanyl, and boom, you go down as a responder, first responder, police, ambulance, whoever it is. Again, it's a whole nother scenario that's taxed the system that 10 years ago was unheard of. And so that's what's happening. The kicker was, I said, how many of those are you handling? He says, almost as many of those as fire calls.
Wow.
So that tells you where we're at. And it's a horrible situation. So, you know, to put any of our responders in those situations, paid, unpaid volunteers, is taxing our system.
Should we have a discussion about that for the township? I mean,
Well, I'm not sure we're gonna do that tonight.
Yeah.
But, because I think we wanna stick to our, stick to the budget here and, or any item we have on the agenda.
Right.
that-
And that's something we want to include those
Yeah.
departments in,
Yeah,
because it's,
clearly.
they're the ones
That's a
that deal
staff
with it.
thing.
yeah.
We get it secondhand, but, we deal with it, trying
Yeah.
to make sure we can staff as much as possible. Which
Anyway,
we've done.
I just thought I'd throw that in there, I wasn't planning on it, but it's a huge
Reality.
reality.
If I can make a comment also, I think we've heard enough times throughout the meetings that people have vocalized that if we don't utilize our local police, the state troopers are the ones to respond, and how often have we heard the story? It takes 45 hour and a half, so if we're gonna continue to consider budget issues for, within the township, to me, it makes sense as our township is growing, that the safety components grow with it, and do right. So, I mean, I think oftentimes we look at ways to kind of ratchet our budget down, but when you do that, there are also negative consequences to that. So we need to take that in consideration as community members. Are we okay with that? And if so, then we have to be okay with the responders on those off hours to respond in their timely fashion. And those timely fashions could be the matter of a life or death situation.
Okay, Larry Cohn, 27 Mine Hill Road. Just a question, given that you've said that there is a new police vehicle slated for 2018, and probably in future years there'll be new vehicles coming down the road, is there any plan at this point in the 2018 budget for vehicles for the roadmaster and other uses more in the community?
We do have in the budget for a,
Paver
paver.
this year.
One paver?
And we purchased a truck, what, 3 years ago? Yeah. I will say also, I meant to bring up a follow-up to the comment I had on the website. Kevin got new numbers for me, and at this point, almost the end of the year, we're still about 150,000 under budget for 17. Just kind of follow up the comments I made before for you.
Yeah, the reason I brought it up was primarily, I think there's an educational process that can
Right.
occur with the community. People want police, and I think it's really important for people to understand that they work hard and they are expensive. And if you want your police to work hard for you and do their job, which they're doing very well, we have to pay for them. So, I don't think everybody really understands that.
Okay.
Other questions?
Go ahead.
Bob Burns, Zieglerville Road. Terry, you had mentioned back, I think it was that Monday 10 o'clock meeting, that Tommy would be going to full-time at the sewer plant when the sewer plant goes in operation. Is that in the budget?
It's something that we had discussed that we were looking for him to do.
Yeah, I didn't see a line item in the budget for next year for anything like that.
That would be in the sewer by itself.
Right, I looked
It
in the
doesn't
sewer
go
budget
into
as
the-
well, but I don't think I saw anything. Do you know, Kevin, if there's
At this
anything?
point, there isn't no.
Yeah, it's not been
Those
decided
guys
yet.
haven't been decided yet.
It's conjecture, we have to see how much time is actually gonna be taken for that. And it also kind of comes into play with the collection system. Part of the reason for that was if, as we're inspecting the new work going in, the laterals to the houses and so forth, that would kind of be part and parcel of that. And that extra time would tend to push Tommy into a situation where he really couldn't do road work.
Right.
Now, if in fact, depending on how soon the collection system comes online, we don't need to do that yet. So that's why it's still an open issue.
Wasn't there a fellow by the name of Vince Smith that does that now for the township?
No, he would do on-lot systems.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the
That's
health
strictly
department.
county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I know the name, Vince Smith from Health Department.
Yeah.
So I didn't even jump in.
Yeah, no, I couldn't place the name right away.
So he doesn't do any of the
He doesn't do-
plumbing?
No.
Who does the plumbing inspections now?
For private permits, that would be code office. Dave Wallace.
Okay.
And when a new project goes in, like when we put the system in Zieglerville, that would be part of the construction inspection, the installation up to the clean out at the right of way. And then from there in would be private property that would go back to codes.
And that 55,000, is that the budget for the paver? Is that what you were talking about?
You see a middle sized one.
That's a new paver or used? That's new, right?
That's brand new.
What kind of paver is it, Tom?
A Malden
Malden.
is what we're looking at this point. Depends on what's on state contract at the time. It might be a different, whatever falls in that.
In that category. I also have a question about the auditors. Apparently, it seems that their salary's gone up each and every year over the last 3 years, like $600 to $700 a year.
Okay,
I thought there was supposed to be some kind of a cap on that.
not to my knowledge,
You're
What I
talking
would-
about, our the outside auditors?
Yeah.
outside orders.
It's not so much salary, but whatever they're charging.
hourly, or is it
They're paid hourly and not to exceed that 8,700. Actually, the cost was 8,600, so it wasn't budgeted correctly last year. So it actually only went up $100.
Well, I believe when they started 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they were at 6,500.
That was the cap in Pennsylvania law was about 6,500 or something.
I heard somewhere around 3,000, but I haven't been able to
Well,
find
maybe-
that on paper anywhere.
Okay.
I have a question about the amendment to Township Code 158-7. Could you, someone explain what that is?
That's the truck restriction on Kurloff Road.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Guess we'll move on. Go to reports and the saucer.
All right, we'd first like to announce that an executive session was held immediately before this meeting. The purpose was to discuss a personnel issue. Present were myself, Manager Kevin Tobias, and the 3 supervisors. Second, I would like to ask if there is a motion to approve a severance agreement between the township and Officer David Buckley, or I should say former employee David Buckley.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then the township has received a conditional use application from Sachs and Sons for 9 Big Road. I believe our ordinance requires that the conditional use hearing be scheduled within 60 days of the date the application is received. But Tom Keenan, I think, reached out to the applicants and asked whether they would waive that, and agreed that the hearing take place on February 6th, which would be 1 day past the deadline. And that's all right if the applicant agrees. The time limit is really for the applicant's benefit. If they agree to an extension of time, then it's fine. And they did agree, so I would just ask for the board's approval to schedule that conditional use hearing on February 6th, which would be the night of the February Board of Supervisors meeting at 6 p.m. So an hour before the normal meeting would start.
Sorry, is that a public meeting?
Yes.
So that'll be advertised?
Yes.
I'd have no objection.
And I guess I'll ask for a motion, you might formalize it.
I'll move then to schedule the conditional use hearing on February 6th. For Sachs.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, should he abstain?
What's it,
Oh,
6
you did.
p.m.?
He did it. 6 p.m., right. And then Kevin, do you want our office to prepare
I'll take care.
the notice? Yeah.
All right, so that is, he's abstaining, and
Yes.
it's 2-0. Okay.
Okay. All right, and that's all I have.
Go to the engineer.
I just have one thing to bring before the board tonight, and I think you would have received it already from me by email. We just got notice that Montgomery County is reopening the grant program. That you previously submitted the sidewalks for that grant program. Since I didn't know if Kevin had a copy of this that was submitted previously, I want to make sure he had one. I also brought an additional copy for our supervisor to be, and I know this board has all seen that. That was the sidewalks up Spring Mountain Road. My suggestion is that the board consider yourself or staff reaching out to the property owners along Spring Mountain Road to get verification that they're in favor of it, and then proceed with the grant application in Montgomery County. I think that's a good shot at it. That's the only thing on my report.
Kevin, was that, I think in that email, I think I mentioned, is there a way for us to reach out to those folks, letter or something?
Or phone, you know, if I get phone numbers to call them. If not, then I'll send letters and ask for a definite response period.
And when do we have to get this in by?
I believe that was due in March.
In March? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll sooner the better.
Yep. I'll definitely get it in
Is this the second phase? I know we did this in 2 phases, in 2 years. We did the section up in the townhomes area that they rejected.
This is just the piece on Spring Mountain
This is
Road.
from this trailhead to Perkins Avenue.
Exactly.
There's like 3 properties there, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah, I think you had said that the one property was Detweiler's.
Right.
Yeah, they were okay with it, but we never got out, and actually, apparently, then we didn't ask.
Yeah, in that situation, since this would be the grant, and we have a match on it?
Yeah, it was a small match. It would be exactly the same grant that you applied for in the second round last time.
Right.
And the county said at that point that they really liked the idea, but they wanted to see that you had authorization from those property owners. And I think you had that verbally, that we didn't have anything
Right,
in writing by the time they made their
And
decision.
so, to the property owners themselves, there was no cost?
No, they didn't.
That's what I thought.
They just they're gonna want sidewalks, right?
Yep.
If they don't want a sidewalk, do you think the county will nix it?
County might not be so eager to throw grant money at you for it if they're against it.
Right.
Right.
Well, if we got 3, we get 2, how's that?
They're a plot in between.
Sidewalks improve your curb appeal, don't they? I know you have to shovel them, but,
Yeah, and there's a safety issue, I think,
Yeah.
on Spring Mountain Road.
oh, there's definitely a
Improved by
safety
this.
issue, that's why, I was for this thing,
Yeah, and it would give those folks direct access to the Perkiomen Trail as well, so it might be a benefit.
When you say sidewalks, does that mean curbs are inclusive with that, or you're just gonna have sidewalks butt up to the street?
In the study that we did last year, Tom, if you could pass that back, we did 2 scenarios, one with a shoulder and a swale and a sidewalk, and the other was with a curb and a sidewalk. And the board last year said clearly they preferred the curb and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And that was less intrusive on the properties, so the curb and the sidewalk was what was, both options were in here and both options were modeled, but that, I think, was the option that the board was interested in. Yes?
Which side of Spring Mountain Road?
Opposite
your
the
name
fire
there.
company.
I'm sorry, I'm Mary Kay Mill. I live at 3 Village Drive.
They're opposite side of the fire company. So between Perkiomen and
So
Main
that's our
Street.
side.